Award categories don't make sense anymore.
And that could hurt their legitimacy.
Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Spot On. I am once again honored to be joined by Jeff Grubb. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm very glad to be back.
'Tis the season for video game awards. The nominees for the Game Awards were published, and in a few categories, there's some debatable inclusions. And these inclusions aren't because of quality, but because of how they're categorized. And it's inspired that discussion, and the major focus has been specifically, what is an indie game?
You stop for a second, you're like, okay, yeah, why does this matter? Well, I mean, a lot of eyeballs tune into the Game Awards. It's a chance for the industry to put the people who make these games front and center. Their lives get bounced around so much back and forth, where it's like 1 minute they're in high demand, the next minute they're getting laid off. It's a volatile industry. So having a day that really is supposed to be about them. And there are a lot of award shows. We have our awards that we hand out. The Game Awards has positioned itself, and maybe rightfully so, as like, hey, no, this is the one that everyone watches, and everyone does watch it. Millions of people watch it every year. So when there's that many people tuning into the industry, you kind of want to get a sense that these things are being taken seriously and that the people behind the awards have put a lot of thought into them. And when we start looking at these awards and we have these questions, it really feels like, oh, maybe people aren't thinking about these things as deeply as we would want them to.
Clearly, there's a lot of thought put into them. I don't think this is a Jeff Keighley issue. I think this is an industry issue where the lines are being blurred to the point where we now need to kind of have a kind of a fireside chat about what makes sense now these days. So the best independent game category for the Game Awards describes the category as celebrating outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside traditional publisher systems. And in that list is a game called Dave the Diver, a fantastic game developed by Mint Rocket. And Mint Rocket is, Jeff?
A studio internally created at Nexon, one of the biggest publishers in the world, actually. They have been making games for a very long time. There is literally nothing independent about Mint Rocket. People do have different definitions for indie, but in general, we are talking about indie as an independent of a publisher. You're on your own, and that's definitely not what Dave the Diver studio is. It's strange these days, right, though, Tam? Because you know what is independent, technically, according to that definition, is Baldur's Gate 3, one of the biggest games in the world. Yeah. And that's why it's like, oh man, does defining games by that sort of metric even make sense anymore? I don't know.
If we go by the letter of the law being the description of the category, Dave the Diver isn't made outside the traditional publisher system. It just looks like it was. If you look at Dave the Diver, you go to, a product page or the Wikipedia thing, it says Mint Rocket, and you're like, I've never heard of that. Publishers, yes. Mint Rocket, and you're like, I've never heard of Mint Rocket as a publisher. It doesn't say EA, it doesn't say Nexon, it doesn't say Tencent, anything like that. It just says Mint Rocket. You have to kind of dig a bit deeper to see that, oh, Mint Rocket is an internal team at Nexon, which, if we were being uncharitable, we could present the idea that that's a pretty sneaky way of presenting a studio and being like, this is an indie studio. And then but technically, like, it also, if they're like the first time they're making a game, we're not sure if these are complete newbies. Does that still count? Because they're an entirely, newbie team. And isn't that the spirit of what an indie game is?
I mean, in some ways, I think it is. Again, everyone's definition is going to be different, but I think what I want from this category does look more like Dave the Diver. I want a category that calls out games that do not feel the weight of having to compete with the other biggest games in the world, with the biggest budgets in the world. And listen, we have a place for that. That's the rest of the Game Awards.
Indie now is more tied to an aesthetic and a gameplay style more than a team size or like what they're putting into it.
Do the categories overall in the Game Awards make sense? I mean, we are talking about a lot of genre awards that feel outdated, at least in my opinion, Tam. I don't know if you share that, where it's like action, adventure, even RPG, racing, and sports. Calling out genres, I think, is maybe even more troublesome than trying to figure out what indie is, because genres are blending together more than ever, and we have a lot of studios that make a lot of different kinds of games, and if we're going to focus on the genre, it feels like it's pulling away from focusing on the person making the game. Like, there's no designer category, for example, and I would really welcome that.
The best RPG is described as being for the best game designed with rich player customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. And the question is, should Lies of P should be included in that category, or should it be in the action category, which is then it's like, what is an RPG? How do you measure rich player customization and progression? For me personally, my first reaction to seeing that was Lies of P is a very, very, very good game, and I just want it to stand a chance. And in a category with Baldur's Gate 3, it's looking rough. Like, it's not great for it. So is it truly an RPG?
I think it's more of an RPG than Final Fantasy 16 is. It just comes back to me for like, what is the purpose of an award show? If you got into making games and you wanted to be recognized, the idea of the genre being greater than the craft seems off. I think we've moved past genres as gamers. Like, I don't really think about genres all that. Like, what's your favorite genre? I don't have one. I'm a 40-year-old man, Tam. I don't have a favorite video game genre. And what I do have is I have people who I recognize in the industry. They make good levels. The guy that was working on Titanfall, I can't remember his name right now. He made the No Russian level. That level's whatever, but he's making a lot of cool stuff and a lot of games. I'm following him because he's a good game designer. I want a chance for him to come out on stage and accept an award for game design, and there is no place for that in the Game Awards right now.
The other important thing is just like something that we want to kind of highlight is when it comes to indie games and also these kind of games is like the kind of space taken up by behemoths. The idea of like big publishers like, Nexon under using like Mint Rocket to get into a space where smaller developers traditionally have played is, I don't want to say insidious, but it kind of like it feels not good. It feels kind of gross.
The difference is Nexon does have a marketing budget, and most indie developers do not, and they require completely on their scrappiness and their ability to get noticed through posting GIFs on Twitter, and they're just waiting for a break. And this game definitely didn't have to wait for its break. They had a way to reach out to traditional publishing or traditional media companies and say, hey, we have a big game coming. You want to cover it? And they could spend the time and money on that. And I think we want to separate these two things based on that.
One of the other kind of like categorization discussions was around the best ongoing game. Best ongoing game is an award given to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the play experience over time. And in amongst the usuals of, Destiny and Apex, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. Technically fits the definition of the game as it was a game that was evolving and adding new content. But most people would look at that and go, it was evolving and adding new content to a game that was largely treated as broken in many ways. So it was evolving to become a more functional and more enjoyable product, as opposed to the other games on the list, which are games as a service, which are evolving to take the solid foundation and build upon it with new content. That's a very clear distinction, and we're in a situation where we're like, how do we even define that again? It's very strange.
Maybe I'm coming from a place where most live service games and most games as a service things that have a lot of microtransactions, their ongoing support looks like, hey, we found new ways for you to give us more money. And that's their business model, whatever. They could do what they need to do. I do think maybe it is worth people calling out Cyberpunk instead and saying, yeah, sure, they went from a substandard product to something that is above standard and now better than it originally presented itself as. And in my opinion, we should be rewarding that. We should be giving them, we should say, hey, that's actually, we want more developers to stick with their games a little bit longer, give them a better chance. And if you do, we as the wide arrow gaming media and as people who are playing and buying games will recognize that, and it will be worth your time and effort.
I definitely would be all for having a best expansion, best DLC or something like that category, because Phantom Liberty is fantastic. It's phenomenal.
Yes.
But like, we are missing out on opportunity to highlight certain add-ons that have been put out that aren't part of this like evolving games as a service experience. Like, I know one close to your heart that is getting no love is Hitman Freelancer. Like, that is a phenomenal update that is just no one's really recognizing it because it's not fitting into these categories in a neat way, right?
Why does this one get left out? Because we didn't make the right kind of noise? We didn't get the right headlines? That it does feel that way. And it's like, if there was an explicit either best comeback story or best old game, something that we've done on Giant Bomb a bunch of times, that feels like that is worth calling out. Software is so different than other mediums. We look at games and we're like, it's just like music and movies and all this other stuff, and it's really not. Software is this thing that's living and can come out and be broken, and yet the underlying artistic work and the craft can be really good. And you're like, man, if those two things could just come together in a strong way, that would be a much better experience. And a lot of times we are finding that's how that actually works out that way. And in Hitman's case, it's like, no, it started off strong, and then they found a new way to express the very good things about this game in a completely different way. And you're like, where is the award for that? And it doesn't seem like it exists.
There's the Best Community Support Award, in which Bungie is nominated for Destiny. And the issue here is it basically laid off pretty much all of its community team recently. And are we now in a situation where should we be giving an award to a team or a company that has just, thrown all those people out and thrown them under the bus? Or do we like punish them for that? Or do we look at that and say like, hey, those people still deserve recognition. They worked hard in that time and they deserve to have be nominated in this category.
It's tough, right? What you just said there really hits home with me. Those people did that work. Maybe it should be called out. But you know how it works at the Game Awards and at any award show. Again, we're not calling out Jeff Keighley specifically. It works this way for everything. Who goes up on stage and accepts an award for Best Community? It's not the community team. It's going to be Pete Parsons, someone on the executive team at Bungie. They come out and accept that award, and that feels a little bit. And now I feel like there's very little chance that Bungie wins that award now because of what happened. But if they did, that would be very, very frustrating to see. So it's a messy situation. It speaks to this to just how volatile that industry is. And maybe we should find other ways to highlight these people doing that hard work and making these games a happy place to be in.
Yeah. I think the discussion, the reason we're having it and why we think it is important is it does seem high time for like a reassessment of how we approach awards and how we categorize them. And also we should really refocus on and really think about whether we are rewarding the right things, the right people in a way that ensures that there's an ongoing health to the industry, where people who are contributing in meaningful ways feel like they're getting the kind of accolades that they deserve, to ensure that kind of like cycle of people coming in, making cool stuff, being rewarded for it in different ways continues, so we have a more, robust and healthy industry.
Jeff Keighley did the thing. He came out one day and said, I'm making an award show. And everyone went, okay. And now we're past the point where we're like, just okay. We're like, no, you're the award show. You did the thing.
You did the thing.
And now some responsibility comes along with that. And I just like, we're having a conversation now. And because I think I've accepted that this is the award show, I want to be like, okay, I'm going to take it seriously. Let's all take it seriously. And let's see what we can do to make it even better next time. Because I enjoy watching the Game Awards. And I recognize we're probably going to get a lot of comments, Tam. It's just a bunch of commercials. Absolutely. We understand what this is. But you know what? We can take these awards seriously. The people who get the awards take them seriously. They want to win these things. And if that's the case, let's do a better job. And we'll, maybe not this year, but next year it'll be even better.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the Spot On Show. I appreciate your time. Where can people find you? What are you up to?
Over at Giant Bomb, December 9th, we're doing a live show.
Los
baby. Angeles, the Rocket Lounge with my buddy Tam. We're all going to hang out. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
I can't wait. Come hang out with us. Tickets are on sale now.
So by the time you hear this, tickets will be on sale, and you can come and hang out, and you'll get to enjoy the kind of most pivotal day of the Game of Awards discussions. We've got some goofs, we've got some gaffes planned, and it's a big deal for us to first do a kind of live show in this. Like, this crew has never done anything live together to this degree, so it's very exciting. So we hope you'll be there, and we hope you'll be here for the next episode of Spot On as well. Just a reminder, we won't be here next week, but we'll be back after that, after Thanksgiving break, with myself and Lucy again. Jeff, we'd love to have you back at some point soon, so
of course,
that would be amazing.
Anytime. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for having me, Tam.
Bye, everyone.
Lucy, get back safe.
See ya.